This is really for all you philosophy, theology, and apologetics types out there. So I was organizing my hard drive the other day, and to my delight, I found an interview I had done with Dr. Richard Swinburne 13 years ago. Yes, the Dr. Richard Swinburne. Anyway, I'm very excited to bring this to you. Now, this is more than 13 years old, but I think you'll still appreciate what he has to say. I have several clips I'm going to roll out, but we'll start with this one. Here I ask him what he thinks is the greatest obstacle to a clear presentation of the gospel by apologists today. Take a look. What would you say is the biggest hindrance to a clear presentation of the gospel when it's presented by apologists today?
Well, there are several. To start with, of course, apologists need airtime. That is to say, they need to be able to write books that a lot of people are going to read and appear on television programs that a lot of people are going to see. And I don't know quite how the situation is in this country, but in Britain, for example, there isn't much scope for apologetics in the serious TV programs, because the TV programmers don't want to give serious apologetics very much space. So we clearly have a problem about getting the message available to people. The second problem is the apologist himself has got to present a serious case, and it has been, I think, characteristic of the last 200 years of Christianity that there has been an enormous loss of confidence in the ability of people to defend the Christian religion by good arguments. So that they're apt to say, well, it's a matter of choice, it's up to you, you can believe what you like in this area, but other areas things can be established, here they can't be established. And if an apologist takes that line, then he's not going to convince very many people. But I believe there are good arguments for the truth of the Christian gospel, and I think they can be presented. And in saying this, I think I am in line with the tradition of Christianity itself for the previous 1800 years. Almost all the great theologians of the first millennium, the fathers, believed in natural theology. That's to say, they believed there were good arguments from the world, its conformity to order, the way it was set up, and the existence of human beings to the existence of God. They didn't present them at very great length because they didn't think they needed to, but they didn't think they needed to, but they thought they were there. And of course, in the Western Middle Ages, philosophers presented such arguments at great length. That was believed. Likewise, I think if you read the New Testament itself as regards the historical truths of Christianity, you find, if you read the Acts of the Apostles, that Peter and Paul appealed to their hearers to believe that Jesus was risen from the dead because they'd seen him, talked to him, and so on. They thought evidence was relevant. And so both with respect to the existence of God and with respect to the historical truths of Christianity, I think the tradition is that evidence is relevant, and there's been a loss of confidence on the part of apologists that this is so, and that these things can be shown. And the loss of confidence is due to some bad philosophical arguments deriving from Kant and Kierkegaard and other places. So I think we need to shut down these arguments against the propriety of arguments for the truth of the Christian religion and get on with it, and I think that can be done. And of course the third problem about selling things is you've got to persuade people that these things are worth taking an interest in. And it's got to be made appealing. And to be made appealing, it's got to appeal to moral values that they have and to standards of evidence and so on that they have. So, if, just to take a small sort of example, on moral matters, if you are to try and persuade people that what Christianity has to say about marriage or homosexuality is worth taking seriously, you've got to connect with some value that they themselves have. And, for example, you've got to spell out what a good thing a lifelong commitment to somebody would be, and how generous it would be to give that sort of commitment. And people always have a spark for thinking generosity a good thing, so you can start. Or if you want to persuade them that homosexuality is a bad thing, then you've got to point out that the consequences of that is that people with a deep affection for each other are not going through their acts of love to be able to have children, and having children, or the choice of having children, is a great blessing. So you've got to connect. Once again, it's no good just saying the Bible says it's wrong or anything like that. And if you're going to persuade people that as a God, you've got to do so by standards of evidence which they themselves can recognise, and I think that means drawing out the standards involved in science and history. So plenty of obstacles, but they can be overcome.